Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Real inspiration for real innovators. If you're looking for innovation and leadership transformation, your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bourne. If you're enjoying these innovation insights, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. Well, my guest today is Ben Price. You are going to laugh, and if you don't, you're just, I don't know, something's wrong. He is known as Australia's best impersonator, and he has spent over a decade engaging communities through street outreach, public events, both in Melbourne and Sydney. So he's joining us all the way from Australia. And he has had hundreds of conversations, weekly events, and connects with people from all walks of life. And I cannot wait for you to meet him. He and I got to meet each other last year at a speaking engagement. It was so much fun. So welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Hey, Natalie, good to see you. It's wonderful to be able to connect like this again. It was a year ago at
It
the
was.
UBN.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for people today because you're an impersonator. So they're going to get to hear so many incredible voices. But before we do that, I want to ask the question, how in the world did you get into this? How did you know that you had a gift for this? I would love to just hear the backstory.
When I was about 10 years old, I was mimicking a friend of mine who was English and still is, by the way. And so I discovered that I could do this accent. I'd never done accents before in my life. When I was a kid, my older sister would dress me up. So I was forced into being a performer. And then my friend from England, I would mimic his voice because he'd always say, I really like it, which actually now I think about it, sounds like David Beckham. You know, he's a big muscular guy who's, athletic. He could be a next James Bond, and then he opens his mouth like that. So he sounds really like that. So he had one of those British accents, and he kept saying, I like it, I like it. And I was like mimicking him. So it was one of my dad's friend's sons who I hung out with for a while and we became good buddies. And I mimicked his voice. And then I discovered, well, I can do this and I love it. And I would do it all throughout my teenage years. And then people started getting me to perform at church and, well, which sounds weird, doesn't it? But they'd get me up to do the church announcements and we'd have church camps and all kind of events. And people would say, can you come and do my 21st birthday or my 50th birthday? And I'd come and do all these characters. And that's just kind of where it all began.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because this brought you all the way to Australia's Got Talent. I would love to talk a little bit about that. Like, I think you might be the only person that I know that's ever been on one of these shows. It's a
Really?
pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that was back in 2011, which is AGT, same as America's
Yeah.
Got Talent and Australia's Got Talent. I'd watched it, and this was prior to that. There was a few years, and I always had this thought that, well, I was kind of full-time doing what I'm doing, and I thought that's for someone who, wants to get their big break. They've never made it before, and I'm already working in it. And so I just thought, I don't need to do these things. But they asked me to go on back in 2011, and I went, maybe. And then when they said, you could at least get YouTube exposure and you could win 250 grand. And I went, yeah, I'm going to think about this. And there was something in me that went, yeah, I should do it. And
I think
so
it was the 250 grand.
well, it was kind of motivating, but I thought, even so, I'll still get something out there, and I just, it'll be great. And I didn't win. That's the spoiler alert. But I made the top 10
Wow.
in the grand final, and there was a young girl who was a singer who'd been on the previous year and made the grand final from my church, and we were only at a small church of about 30 people, and I thought, well, I kind of have to make the grand final, but you don't want to not make the grand final because that's the one people remember. And it was just wonderful, the experience of going on there and really getting exposure. But yeah, I definitely think, that's a whole story, but the Lord got me ready for that, I can tell you, because before that I was kind of chasing my own fame, and then he humbled me to the point where I was like, well, if I'm going to have any level of popularity, it's to not push my fame, but the Lord's name. So praise God.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my curiosity, and maybe you can do some voices for us, but how do you how do you decide what voices you're going to do? Because I know it spans from everything from like animated characters to celebrities to some politicians, which I think we're going to hear from, that you are very good at doing. It's almost eerie. So how do you decide like which voices to choose? Or
Yeah, I look to when I first started, it's just people that I would watch and mimic because I used to watch a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies back in the day when I was growing up, and then the comedy ones like when they did, Kindergarten Cop, and then it was really funny, and so I started mimicking because I'm watching him all the time, and he's huge. And then of course I watched a lot of the Rocky movies growing up. So I started doing Stallone, right? That was one of those. And I think again with Sean Connery, I used to love watching his movies, so I started doing these, and 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 then it became like, who's popular? Who do people want to hear? And The Simpsons were quite popular back
Mhm.
when I was starting to learn voices. So I started to talk like Homer, and it was one of those. Go! Somebody give me the number for 911. And the funny thing is, I watch these shows so much now, and now people just go, "Oh, can you do this one?" And I get some really weird requests, but I really want to make sure that it's popular because, yeah, one of the ones I love is Christopher Walken. I remember when I first started doing it, people are like, "Hang on, who's that guy?" And you'd show them a photo. Oh, yeah, that guy. I don't know why it was so obscure to, be talking like, "Hello, Natalie. It's great to see you. Wow." And I had some people go, "Oh, that's really good." And then other people are like, "Who is that?" And so I think everybody knows him now, but for whatever reason, yeah, people just weren't sure at the start when I was doing that voice. But I really like to do the ones that everybody knows, and you don't have to even explain it. You don't even have to necessarily introduce them. You just start doing the voice, and it works really well. And there's a lot of politicians at the moment that, yeah, they're giving me a lot of material.
Yeah, there's a few politicians in particular that you are phenomenal to doing. And let's just put it out there, right? One of them is our current president, Trump. I don't know how you do it. You do an incredible impression of him. I don't know if
Well,
he's coming to visit us today.
Well, I've got him here because look, I've got this. It's so great to be here, Natalie, and I have to say, what an honor, a huge honor this is for you to have me on your innovation podcast. Really, it's innovative and you're fantastic, and it's so great. And you know what we're gonna do is Elon Musk is a genius. He's building a wall in space. It's like a firewall, and I don't know how he's going to do it, but we're going to have people on Mars. We're going to colonize Mars, and we don't want illegal aliens coming back here. We really don't, because some terrible people, terrible people.
Wow.
You have some questions, and it's
I
great to
do.
someone who is not part of the fake news. I have to tell you, I really do.
So, do you do Elon?
Well, are you asking me or President Trump? Elon, I actually do have one of the few people that has a black MAGA hat. Uh, uh,
How do you
yeah,
know he got a hold of
Uh,
that?
yeah, no, it's yeah, yeah, no, it's at the moment it's really interesting because we're the Doge we just finished, but as we saved President billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, so yeah, and by the way, your book was an inspiration for a lot of the Democrats out there. With my cars because they set it on fire. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and people ask if I can do a Joe Biden voice,
Right.
and I
Do you
don't
get
even know
that
if
question a lot?
well, I do, but I don't even know if he can do it. Hey, it's great being on your show, Natalie's. I just want to say to all the people out there, you great show. What you doing with innovation and the thing, let's pause, wait for applause. The poor guy,
Well, I think in a world where politics can be the great divider, like you've done a great job of being an equal opportunity offender. Like you offend every single side, no matter who, right? No matter what.
that's the thing, I want to be inclusive. I think if I don't want to offend some people. I want to offend everybody.
There you go. That's how it should
They,
be.
it is. You can never say that I'm, being exclusive or inclusive. Yeah, I'm. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but everybody's going to get made fun of in a fun way.
Okay,
And
so who
that's
is
how it
your
should.
favorite voice though? Is it Trump? Because I
Uh,
feel like he gives you a lot of material.
oh,
There's a lot of like hand gestures you can do.
yeah, there's the hand gestures. He's always playing the organ, the invisible organ. I don't know why he does that. And the facial. I love the and the even the and he's got the tongue and these eyes and those little expressions he does like that. He's just fun, and I do somewhere in here. In fact, I think I've got it. I've got a Trump wig here,
Oh,
which not many people have. But to put it on, I mean, that's it. It looks
I
like
would say no
this.
one has the Trump wig, but just go on.
Oh yeah, I look. I even have in there the Trump eyebrows.
Oh my, have you ever done the
Yeah.
eyebrows and the wig?
Oh yeah, I've done the whole thing. I've even got a suit in there and
Is it red tie? Blue
red
tie?
tie,
Yep.
American flag lapel. It's the whole thing. I've got a fat suit because he's a little bit heavier set than I am. So I've got the whole lot. The shoes, the belt, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. And I walked into a party recently for someone and just people's face that yeah, and then it's just hilarious at the end of the act. I have YMCA playing and we're all doing
Yes.
the Trump dance. It was so fantastic. And a lot of the people there were liberal, but they didn't even know how to spell YMCA at the end. It was really, really bad. Very badly.
Well, what
He's
do
a
you
gift that
feel? What'd you say?
he's a gift that keeps giving
Yeah.
with humor. I think we have to laugh.
He is the gift that keeps giving. I feel like you do such a good job of, like, embodying, like, all the funny things that he does, but what I love about it is you have to be not only funny in timing, but you
Yeah.
have to be, like, a studier of, like, not only the room as you're delivering this. I would love to know, like, do people ever get mad or offended in the room when you're doing some of these, like, more, I would say, polarizing characters?
Sometimes I remember the early days of doing that. Everyone was right into it, and then some people I'd mingle and I'd get photos, and I'd go to people that'd say, "It's great to meet you, fantastic to see you," and they'd want photos, and then some people would be standing there like that going, "I don't like you." I'm like, well, I don't like you either, but it's great to meet you, and you just roll with it. And but it's very few. Like I don't think I've had an audience. They would obviously book me, but I might sometimes have an audience where I'm not sure if they're going to like the impression or not. And I did do a political event here where they said probably don't do it because it may not go down too well. And so I didn't do it. But then I asked everyone, who would you like me to do? And then everyone goes, Trump, Trump, Trump. I went, well, I'm not going to say no to that. I
Gotta
had to
give
do
the
it.
people what they're asking for.
And they loved it. It was fantastic. And they said, yeah, you were right. Yeah, it was definitely the right call to do it. But I've had times where people say, maybe don't. And it's like, all right, I've got 200 voices. So,
Wow.
it's fine. I think it's 200. I haven't
Yeah,
counted for a while.
that's a lot of voices. It's a lot of
Yeah,
voices in your head.
I know. It sounds like I need some therapy.
Well, I'm curious, like, how you manage, like, I mean, because again, like, you're managing so many things at one time, and I got the pleasure of getting to you emceed an event that I spoke at,
Yeah,
multiple speakers. You had to, like, remember all the stuff, right, about the last
yeah.
person that spoke, who's speaking next, and then on top of that, you were doing your comedy bits in the middle of all that, and, like, how do you balance, like, creativity and being funny and also, like, kind of, like, managing the room? I mean, it's a lot of different things going on at one time, and I always tell MCs, "Your job's harder than mine." Like, because you gotta
Yeah,
be brief, be brilliant, and be gone.
yeah. It's a tough job. Yeah, there's a lot of balancing between, being serious and introducing something. And I don't know, I seem to do it. I think that's my life. I know how to be serious with my wife, and then I know how to joke around and be funny and be silly. Being silly is different. I can be silly. And sometimes people think you're trying to be funny, and "No, I'm just being silly." But yeah, as an MC, you get to wear a lot of hats, so to speak, and do a lot of different characters and just
I'm
say,
laughing because 'cause you've got all the Trump hats over there.
yeah, I know.
Hilarious.
And then obviously with a UBN event. It's a Christian event, and sometimes I'll even get to pray. And some people say, "Oh, you're going to pray like Homer Simpson?" I'm like, no, no, I'm going to be funny, but I'm not going to do that. So, yeah,
That's so funny. So you've spoken publicly about your faith, especially with you going on the Australia's Got Talent. Like, how
yeah.
has faith influenced your journey as a performer and just someone who's kind of out in the public?
Yeah, look, I mentioned it a little bit where before I went on Australia's Got Talent. Prior to that, I was for a season of my life lukewarm, and I would go to church and go to Bible studies, but I would try to keep the comedy separate because it wasn't cool to be a comedian who was a Christian, but the Lord, humbles the exalted and he exalts the humble because I don't know when it was, because I think late 2009, I suffered from really bad anxiety. Anxiety is really bad. And I remember just being humbled to the point, this was a season of my life where I came to the Lord in a much deeper way and said, I'm all in now. And I said, God, even if I don't do comedy anymore, it's, you own it and it belongs to you. But, I just want to do it your way. And whether I lose popularity or money or friends, doesn't matter as long as I'm doing it the way that you'd want me to do it. And, from there, haven't looked back. And it's cool because, I think comedy comes from the Lord. I think laughter is good medicine, as the Proverbs talk about. And it's interesting, though, because there have been things that, might not have opened up doors where it could have, because you don't want to compromise. And, you decide in your heart, like Daniel, I'm not going to compromise. And the Lord will open the right doors and his right timing. And so, yeah, but it goes hand in hand, I think, because, you're on the front line when you're sharing your faith, and it can be just as daunting as when you're actually doing comedy, because there's a lot of parallel. Even when writing material, you're working things in your life that are trials and difficulties that you could easily just go, oh, that's horrible. But somehow, you go, well, that's going to be good material. And it's like all things work together for good when we love the Lord. So, it's like, oh, thank you for the trial. That's actually not only going to build me stronger, but it's actually going to give me some good comedy out of it. And yeah, I don't know whether to go into too much detail. My wife had a car accident recently.
Oh,
She's
wow.
okay, thank God. But even, I saw the funny side in that. It sounds wrong, doesn't it? Dark comedy. But it was just, I had the guy that called me. It sounded like one of those call centers. Yeah. And I was about to hang up, go, I'm not interested, because I was like, I don't want to answer this call. I don't know where it's from. And I hear this voice, hello, Ben. And I was like, no. And he goes, your wife. And I went, oh, I just
Wait,
saw the
let me not
face.
hang up on you.
Yeah, I'm not going to hang up, but she's all right. Her car's not all right, but thank God. Yeah,
Well, I do think laughter is such good medicine, and it's so
yeah,
it's so helpful, I think, when people can make us laugh, especially like I loved having you at a business event because you brought that lightness, that
mm,
funniness to what sometimes people can make overly serious. And I
yeah,
really enjoy having that in events where somebody is bringing the lighter side of an event.
yeah,
And I don't know how many voices I heard at that event. I feel like it was at least 15 to 20. So I'm still a
yeah,
little bit astounded by the number of 200, you know? It's
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, look, there's some voices I may not have done in years, like that are there, but yeah, there's a current playlist of maybe 15 or 20, I would say that, and then you never know what's going to get thrown out
right.
when I ask, "Who would you like?" And that's a daunting process, but it's interesting,
That
someone will say,
feels dangerous to just give it to the audience and say, "Who do you think we should do next?" And just wait
yeah.
for them to yell something back at you.
Well, they might ask something that I have no idea who to do that voice, but there's always a comeback. That's the thing, there's always something I can say, or it's like, "No, don't do that one, but here's the one I do." Or if you've got multiple voices, you pick the one that you know how to do. So,
I think I've heard you do Tom Cruise.
yeah, Tom Cruise. Woo! I'm so excited to be speaking with you, Natalie.
Well, I heard you just had a new movie that came out.
Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning,
Yeah, is
and
that number 36?
number 36. I do all my own stunts in this one. He's how old is he? 62?
Gosh, she's got to be 62. Yeah.
He's hanging off airplanes. Like 62-year-olds, normal stunts would be not doing the dishes and, letting
Right.
their wife see what the mess they've made.
I mean, I injured myself sleeping funny the other day. Like, I don't know how he's hanging off airplanes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I do. He gets injuries from falling off airplanes. As a comedian, I don't get many injuries. Like, I've got friends who are builders and their hands are, like, from nail marks, and they're, got all these injuries. I get sores on my hand from reaching down to get my phone on the side of my car that falls down. It's then just that gap is just yeah, that's how I get scabs on my hand, but, yeah, I don't do a lot of stunts.
Yeah. No, he's a good one you do. And then I was trying to remember back to some of the other voices you did. There were some pretty good ones, but my favorite was you just brought the house down with the Trump voice. And I
With
think
Trump.
you even had him like call in on a
Yeah.
didn't you have him call in. I don't know how you did that.
We did like a little live cross. It was a deep fake.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I have a guy who can deep fake my face to look like Trump, or just even my voice where it's President Trump, and it's just so realistic, like saying whatever you want him to say, which is scary, but it's awesome. And I do it where the timing where I'm talking to him and he's talking back, and you ask the questions, and it just people go, "How do you do that?" But it's just crazy what you can do. It's fun. And I think the other one that a lot of people really enjoy is Robert De Niro, because you gotta get the facial expression like that. So I don't know, as soon as I'm able to do that, and I don't like President Trump. I don't like him. I like to beat him. I like to punch this guy. I like to knock his. I like to set him on fire. I really would. Like your book inspired me. I have to tell you, but that one, I even do the voice of that for like a recording of a voiceover. I'll still do that face.
You
Isn't that
have
weird?
to. I
You
feel
have
like the face and the voice, it goes hand in hand. Just like I'm
oh, you
sure
got it.
if you were
Yeah.
doing a recording of Trump, you would have to
I would have to do all of this and probably do all these expressions. It
yeah,
helps so much.
just goes
And
hand in hand.
it helps when you say China. It's so great. Yeah.
So, my biggest fear has been confirmed. I told you I was probably just gonna spend a ton of time laughing and not being able to think of my next question, which is
Yeah.
true, because it's so yeah, it's refreshing and it's a fun topic to have on the podcast. It's one we
Yeah.
haven't had before. But let me
Yeah.
ask you this, because we usually only record for about 25 minutes, so do you have a final thought, or I've never asked this before in the history of the podcast, a final voice?
A
Either one,
final
it's fine.
a final voice.
Final
Oh,
thought or final voice.
I've thrown a few really good ones out there for you. I mean, like Owen Wilson. Yeah, no, a final thought would be like, wow, I'm so excited to be in here, Natalie. It's amazing. Wow. And I'm hearing Mel Bourne and you're Natalie Bourne. It's just like, wow, this Bourne identity thing going on. It's just amazing. Wow. I'm so excited. Yeah. But I don't know how much time we got. But my other final thought is, I get to do a lot of this. You mentioned out on the street and not just the comedy but sharing the good news with people, and that has been one of the other things. If you wanted to follow me, you're more than welcome, because I'm just going out here for now. But no, follow me on boughtwithaprice.com and .au, that's for Australia.au, or benpricecomedy.com, and check out what we're doing on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, etc.
Well, I've loved this. I've just laughed through the whole thing, which I really appreciate it. But I also want to like put a plug in there for you, because you are such an awesome entertainer. And I think people who are having events, whether it's virtual or whatever, I mean, should
Yeah.
really consider you emceeing the event. I feel like it made the event so much more fun and interesting just to have you there, and just to kind of see how you got to work the room, make people laugh. And it's always better to come up to people laughing than the
Yeah.
person who reads your bio and stumbles over all the things that you probably shouldn't have put in there anyway, because no one can read it. And then it's
Yeah.
like, all right, here's that. And it's just like people don't really understand this, but the MC carries the energy of the room from one person to the next, and they're able to kind of manage that energy and keep the energy a high. And everyone wants to come out on a high. No one wants to come out on a low. And I think you
Yeah.
do just a great job of managing that energy in the room.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it sets the tone, absolutely. So appreciate that. That was an awesome event. I think we need to do that again somewhere,
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah, it was super fun. Well,
Oh,
man, thanks so much for your time today. I hope that you will follow Ben. I hope that you will check him out on all the different platforms, benpricecomedy.com, and then some of the other ones he mentioned. And thank you so much for your time. I would say today it's this morning for you and it's tonight for me. So
yeah, it's morning. Yeah. Yeah. But all good. We're all on the same time.
yeah, awesome. Well, to
All
our
right.
listeners, thank you for joining the Innovation
Thank
Meets
you.
Leadership podcast. Remember, don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.
Thank you for joining us for the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Innovation Meets Leadership, and visit our site at innovationmeetsleadership.com for more innovation resources.
Hey, my new book is out, Set It on Fire, The Art of Innovation. Click on the link to learn more. And don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.